When you hear that bell, you know that we are in the championship rounds with the one and only King Amin of Essex, and I'm back with my favorite spar partner. We Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali. It's greatness and greatness, right? So I got to give it to the big homie. This is my Muhammad Ali Hardcore News 50 in the house with his Larry Holmes young sparring partner. What it do, champ?
Boy, you slicked the first one in real quick on me, didn't you? Because we know what Holmes did to Muhammad Ali.
Well,
So
see,
you slicked the first one in real quick. It's all good. It's all good.
you see what happens when you get in there with the familiar partners. They're looking for all your moves.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The boy came in straight with an uppercut on me, boy. I said, okay. What's up, fam?
Hey, listen, we got some good boxing coming up, and we just talked about it. It's on a Sunday, so we kind of get a different feel, even though it's a pretty big, significant weekend, right?
True that. The first person that did it was Floyd Mayweather. He did the first Sunday pay-per-view.
Which fight was that?
I think it was his last one. He did it on a Sunday.
See?
Yeah.
His mark is never leaving the game, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that Floyd business.
He's always the innovator, man. Always the innovator. Yeah, that's where that comes from. The Sunday pay-per-view came from Mayweather.
Well, speaking of innovative, let me shout you out real quick. Hardcore Boxing News 50. We know that everybody's on the internet, everybody's on the IG, but not everybody reports actual news, ladies and gentlemen. Some people just be posting shit. So if you're looking for news on social media, this is and I'm not just saying it's one of the most reputable on target sites because he's using good information, good sources, and chances are he's usually got it covered before you can even open your eyes the next morning. So tell him where to find you, my good brother.
On Instagram, you can find me at Hardcore Boxing News 50. I'm also on YouTube. I haven't been really playing that heavy, but I will be getting back to that one as well. But if you're looking for up-to-date news, you can definitely catch me on Instagram at Hardcore Boxing News 50. We always try to have you up the queue on whatever's happening in the boxing community. I mean, that's just how I love it, man. And I do it because I love it.
Absolutely. And it's easy to do what we love. And, nice segue to people doing what they love, right? Jake Paul must really love fighting boxing, right? Because we got to be clear, because he's fighting a fighter that can box. We're talking about Jake Paul and Anderson Silva. This fight has been announced for October 29th. We know the Rahman situation fell out. Some people, including myself, are pretty high on Anderson Silva's boxing skill, but I want you to tell me and the rest of us, what do you think about this fight in lieu of the Rahman card falling out? What do you think of this one right here?
It's a good fight, but it is what it is. I'm always good to see the old heads getting another chance and everything, but it's a young man's game. And that's what boxing is always about. It's a young man's game, and he's definitely he's about his work. From what I understand, Jake Paul works hard in the gym,
sure,
very hard. And this kid is in his 20s. Now I was talking to somebody else, and they was like, "Yeah, man, but you know what? We're gonna get him back this time for how he beat up Holyfield, this, that, and the third." Talking about Silva,
yeah.
And all that. I'm like, listen here, man. I'm gonna be truthfully honest. This ain't what's gonna happen, man. I mean, the young kid's gonna beat him up. He's gonna beat him up. Yeah, and I know everybody saying this is Silva, he can box and this, that, and other. But it's a young kid. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be truthfully honest. I just turned 54 a couple of weeks ago.
Salute to you, by the way.
Appreciate you. I appreciate you calling me and telling me happy birthday. But I don't want to fight nobody in their 20s.
That's true.
I'm gonna be truthfully honest. I mean, that's what I got the medal for these days. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not fighting nobody in their 20s. I just ain't. Simple as that. I even told my sons, I got 4 boys, and I told my son, whenever you feel, though, that you want to put your hands on me, just think about Marvin Gaye. I told him.
What's going on?
Simple as that. You know what happened to him?
Yeah.
I mean, so because he put his hands on his daddy. You know what I mean? So that's just how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying? But I feel though the young kid and his people that he has doing his matchmaking,
Yeah.
they're very smart, and they're not going to put him into anything they don't feel though that he can't win.
So let me ask you,
Go ahead.
is it just because of all the fighters, and we had talked about this because we know people be listening, they act like they not, but we talked about this being a potential fight because my thing was with the win over Chavez Jr., even though Chavez Jr. hasn't, showed, that was a big win for Silva in terms of boxing IQ. And when it comes to the MMA thing, he's always been unconventional as an MMA fighter. And I'm just saying to myself, I agree with you 1,000% because when we think of the younger man, and I think about, I don't want to fight the 28-year-old me. You know what I'm saying? Like this me, I'm like you, permanent press. I'm trying to iron something out. You know what I'm saying? But does a guy that also had that history of wanting to prepare to fight Roy Jones all them years, is he further ahead of the curve than we're giving credit for, or is it simply just a matter of father time?
Well, you know what? I give him the first 3 to 5 rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, but after that, the youth kicks in, the stamina kicks in, the strength kicks in, all those different dynamics kicks in. He in the first couple of rounds, he's probably going to be the dominant one.
Yeah.
But in the long run, the kid wins. And I know he only got a few fights, but he's going to have enough to beat Silva. And basically what this is going to do is give Anderson a nice little payday before he retires.
A pension is an instant pension for him, right? I want to ask you real quick before we move on though. Could we see a case of like with Badu Jack, the old lion versus Popeye Rivera, where the young guy got to do a little bit too much to, I guess, keep the old guy off of him, so he finds himself tiring, and then the old guy just has enough because the young bull walked down to fuck them all, and sometimes that young bull just get to running. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, definitely a possibility. We talking boxing, so
Mm-hmm.
it's always possible. But the smart person would tell him, "Hey, let's take him and drown him.
Mm.
Let's get him late." You know what I mean? Just hang on tight, stay close. Every time he hits you, try to hit him in the first 3 or 5 rounds so you don't get too far behind. And then at the end, press him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you got to keep in mind, he was used to just doing 5 rounds.
That's true.
So.
Well, while we talking about these sort of guys, I don't know. It kind of went under the radar. I watched it though. KSI, did you happen to catch him in his little shenanigans over the past weekend?
No, I didn't. I couldn't do that one.
And I understood why. And I'm gonna just paint a little picture for you. He fought in the opening bout, and then he fought in the main event. The competition in the opening bout I didn't see, but in the closing bout, this guy was getting hit literally in the body, and he was complaining like they was liver shots. Every time he got hit, he would complain. So the competition was not competition. But I still saw KSI kind of what I think is prepared. He also has the win over Logan Paul, Jake's brother. Do you ever see the potential of KSI and Jake Paul, or do you not know enough about KSI to even make that sort of conclusion?
Well, I go by what I read. You know what I mean? I always watch the highlights and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't think they do that until they finish making as much money as they can make. Because why rattle the boat when we both making good money right now? You know what I mean? Because Jake Paul will beat KSI.
Power.
He'll beat him.
Yeah.
He'll beat him. That's my dog playing with his toys. Hey, can you cut it out, bro?
I'm a dog man myself. We gotta share that space with the puppy. You know
Right,
what I mean?
Boy, he come over here with his little squeaky toy and going ham. He just wants attention.
Well, speaking of squeaky toys and attention, right?
Uh-huh.
Seems like Rahman right, maybe have done some squeaking of his own. He
Yeah,
finds himself in the bout against Vitor Belfort.
that's a good one.
Tell me, tell me.
That's another old man against another young guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is
you
this
know what?
redemption for Rahman though? Could
Yeah,
this
I made a mistake earlier
okay,
when I talked about Holyfield.
sure.
Belfort beat Holyfield, and that's the one I was actually talking about. But I'm older, so I can make them mistakes. Yeah, Belfort beat Holyfield, and it was real bad.
Yeah.
And I think this would be redemption for Holyfield on this one right here. I think Rockman beats him.
Now, is this also redemption for Rahman? Because his name, and it's funny because his name got tainted, but it wasn't quite mud because I think some of the boxing purists saw what Jake Paul and his team was able to do. And then only some people that, didn't understand it, they laid it all at Rahman's feet and said, it was your fault. It was your fault. And the fact that he's in a fight this soon against a guy like Belfort, who again coming off of a win over Holyfield, I don't know if this moves Rahman towards the Paul fight again, but I think it puts him back in proper light. What do you think? Does it restore his reputation a bit, or?
I don't be truthfully honest. I don't think the reputation took too much of a hit, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people think Paul got a lot of shit with him.
Mm-hmm.
But Belfort is 45 years old.
And an MMA fighter, not a boxer.
Exactly. He was just able to bully Holyfield. You know what I mean? And Holyfield 58 years old.
Come on, man.
Right. He's older than me. You know what I'm saying? So, so he was just able to outbrute him. You know what I'm saying? But he's not going to be able to do that to the young kid. So I think the young kid definitely wins this and moves on to bigger and better things.
And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Rahman, again, I wasn't one that, tarnished his name. His reputation took a bit of a hit, but I think he puts himself in play for actual fights. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Actual fights or these kind of, jackpot fights, if you will, where we know the purse is bigger than the following opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of opportunities, though, and this one came on the heels of Josh Taylor moving up and vacating his belt. We got William Zepeda. I'm thinking the little guy. We got Jose Zepeda versus Regis Prograis at 140 for a vacant title. I like this fight. I'm excited about it. I'm glad that Regis is in play. And it's crazy because I didn't even find out about this story until you posted it. So I don't know all the particulars, but if you can share with us a little bit more, maybe how this one came to be. I know it was over a vacancy.
Yeah, you said exactly what happened.
Okay.
Josh Taylor got rid of the belt, and then they just pretty much, because about a month ago, he was kind of bitching. He was like, "Hey, man, why ain't I been put in the walk-ins on getting something happening?" So I guess they was like, "Okay, yeah. We're gonna." They heard him.
Sure.
So I got Regis winning this.
I do too.
Yeah, I definitely got Regis winning this one. I'm gonna tell you, I like the kid. I've always liked the kid. I was surprised that Josh beat him.
Yeah, me too.
When that happened, but and you know what? I think it was for the best for him. Because what I think it really did is made him even more hungrier.
Yeah.
So I think he beats him without a doubt. I don't know how. I can't really say how that's going to go though. I don't, because I don't know if that KO is hard because Zepeda, man, he's tough as nails. So if the safe bet, I would say it's going to be by split decision.
Zepeda, he had that war with Baranchek a couple years ago. And then after that, he looked a little sluggish in his, but then he's coming off of a stoppage his last fight.
True.
Prograis, on the other hand, his only losses to Josh Taylor. And, he's only had time to develop and get more pissed off of why he's being overlooked at 140, watching Tio trying to make room in the division where he's already parked. I'm looking at Prograis just to be vicious, but more technically vicious. I think he had the spirit before, but I think he's worked on his game. And maybe those that said he was only a few technical nuances away from getting the best of Taylor. Those are some of the things he's worked on. So I'm excited for him. Nothing against Zepeda, but I just think that Prograis, when guys are talking about moving up to 140 and he's there, been in the division with only lost to the undisputed guy, it's a shame that he's been forgotten and overlooked. So I'm proud. I'm proud for his current opportunity for sure.
Hey, you know what? And I agree with you 100%. I'm going to be truthfully honest. I said back in the day that he chased Crawford out the division.
Mm.
Ooh, yeah. And that's a lot saying, you know what I'm saying? Because, he was in that division when Crawford was in that division, but he wasn't no noisemaker at that time, where enough to the point where they was like, hey, fight him.
Yeah.
And then Crawford then became undisputed, with Dongo and all them and rolled out. But, he was still in that division at that particular time. And I would have liked to seen that fight.
Yeah.
You know what? I would have loved to seen that fight. I'm gonna be truthfully honest. And then we're gonna hear people say, "Oh man, Crawford would have washed them and this, that, and the third." And Crawford probably would have beat him, but I still think it would be a good fight. I mean,
Tough fight for sure.
Kavaliskis was a good fight with Bud for a minute. You know what I'm saying? So no, it ain't like that. Bud can't be touched, and I know that's your dude. You know what I mean? But he can be touched. You know what I'm saying? So
hey, let everybody else tell it. Him and Trey Songz got into it this weekend past. So down
yeah,
in Houston, 50 Cent had a tycoon weekend, and
yeah.
apparently Trey Songz, had a little bit too much to drink, and he thought he could go toe to toe with Bud Crawford.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he didn't get paws put
Bud
on
was
him.
Knew Bud was there because
Yeah,
he played basketball there.
Yeah, 50 put it out there. He said next year Trey can't come. He think he can step to Terrence Crawford. Them R&B boys is acting out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he R&B too. He wasn't a rapper. Little cousin did a little bit better, but Chris Brown. But
Hey, but to your point, it's Bud can be touched, and it's people that kind of have that audacity. And Regis at the time at 140, and I think it's fair to say, because sometimes a fighter can look and say, man, I don't want to be bothered with that fight. That's one of the young, let him have that. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to taking a dangerous fight or a rough fight. We can look at that as a fair step aside without saying, look, if I done already became undisputed and made all my bones at 140 and I'm on my way out, hey, shit, Taylor ain't jumping back to fight Prograis in no rematch, but he giving Catterall a rematch. So that does say something to me about the dangerousness.
Great point. And Catterall, I feel beat him.
Yeah. Oh man, I thought that was a robbery. Complete robbery.
Yeah.
Complete robbery.
No doubt. I was disappointed. I was like, whoa, what happened? I mean, I don't know. Did he train? I don't know what happened in that. Was it the weight? I don't know.
I think he went a little bit too heavy too early, and it might have been a little lack of training. I don't know if it was just the cardio, but he was going for some bombs and he was on Taylor. But it reminded me of when he was looking to plant them shots and back Taylor up, and Taylor just real quick stiff jab and then a little pitter patter, boom boom, and then move. Or shell up and get out of there. So it's the guy that hit you with the one good punch, or the guy that's still moving and hitting and not getting his hit. So in a split second when you judge and you say, but damn, I seen Taylor get rocked back from a punch he caught on the guard and then eat one to the body. But then Taylor's going to give him a jab and then a cross and then slip and then give him another two on the way out. And,
he was prettier. Yeah.
That's all. But shit, I like them ugly girls, man. You
crazy.
Now, speaking of ugly, because his style ain't pretty, and he managed to find a way back in contention. Who am I talking about? Jean Pascal. He's in there against Joshua Buatsi. I think they're in some sort of eliminator where the winner of that gets better beef, right? Pascal's coming off of that. Some thought it was controversial. They thought he beat Fei Meng Long, the Chinese gentleman. They thought Pascal actually won that fight. Some people did. So, I don't know. I thought Pascal won too, but it's funny how we look at a guy and say, man, last time we saw him was against Dawson or against, Hopkins. We remember from those fights, and then now he's still around. Is this fair to Buatsi, or is this just due for Pascal? I don't know how to look at that.
Well, Pascal's a dog, definitely a dog, but I give this to Buatsi, for sure. I think the young kid gets him. Pascal been into a lot of wars, man, and eventually it catches up to you, man. And Buatsi, he's pretty good.
I like him.
He's pretty good. So I got Buatsi definitely using Pascal as a name, putting it in his belt, tightening that notch.
A good name to have too, because when you look at light heavyweight, you could either get a name or be a name
Quickly.
Yeah, so I do like that fight. I'm hoping that Pascal, I don't want to see the old dog magic, but it would be a hell of a story for his career should something happen to where he ends up victorious. But I like Buatsi a lot. I like, Virgil ain't got too many students left in the game. This is one of his last pupils, so I like to see what Virgil does with fighters, and Buatsi's been coming along pretty good. And listen, that light heavyweight division, it ain't too many names to get, because if it ain't a better beef, Yard's waiting on his turn. Then you got Calum Smith, I think, moved up to light heavy now. So you got some guys there, Bivol and Ramirez, they're gonna have it out. So there's so much going on at light heavy. I think a lot of these brothers, you got to take the fight when you have the chance. And if Pascal is still in the mix, then he's going to go for it. I'm going to enjoy watching that one. I don't want to pick Pascal, but I wouldn't be mad if he won. But I think the youth, I got to go with the youth.
Got to, but Pascal done upsetted the apple cart many times before.
That's what he do, kinda,
That's what he do, exactly. But yeah, the safe bet would be Buatsi. That would be that's going to be the safe bet. I think he definitely gets him out. Well, I don't say gets him out. It probably goes the distance, but I would definitely say that Buatsi will.
Well, let's talk about this weekend, going out or going the distance of getting up out of there. And we talked about having the fight on the weekend. The main event, man, we got Luis King Kong Ortiz versus Andy the Destroyer Ruiz. This fight has been talked about for a while. Heavyweights is the one division they don't need to be a belt on the line all the time. The fights just kind of create their own excitement. How do you got this one going? Tell me what you think about this one.
Man, you talking about the one I've been wrestling with. Because one day I'd be like, Ruiz, Ruiz, Ruiz. Then I'd be like, Ortiz, always so technically sound. And I go back and forth. But I'm always going to go with my philosophy, the young man's game. Ruiz got fast hands.
Yes, he do.
He's been in with punches, so he know how to deal with punches. If I had to put my last dollar on it, I'm gonna go with Ruiz.
Yeah.
He has more incentive. Nobody wants to see Ortiz fight Wilder again, because we know what's going to happen. It doesn't change. It's the same story every time. But I like to see Ruiz against Wilder.
Yeah.
I like to see that. And if he wins this fight, that's probably what we're going to see next. You know what I mean? Because what they're going to do is measure him against, because since Ruiz fought Joshua.
Go there.
And beat him the first time. And Joshua, when he fought Ruiz the second time, actually just ran the whole time and, bam, bam, run, bam, bam, run. If Wilder can come in there and just, bam, the first one, that's going to make Wilder and Joshua fight huge. Even though it's huge anyway.
Yeah.
But we want to see that fight. I mean, I think that fight makes more money internationally than it makes over here, because when Joshua came here for his debut, he shit the bed. So people really was like,
Who? They
yeah,
weren't impressed with that
right.
performance.
It was like, yeah, you got beat by the Michigan man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you looked at the fight when it first came on, you seen this look like a god, muscled up, everything. Then you look in the other corner, you're like, oh, he gonna kill him.
He just looks like the opponent.
Man, Michelin man. And you get beat up by the Michelin man. You talk about you the landlord and
Didn't go over well at all, man.
right. So the Americans, his American debut really didn't go off pretty good. But internationally, people still want to see that fight. So I can see that fight being where it have to be in the Mid East somewhere because over at UK they can't afford that fight. So that's why when you have them big fights like that, it's always in the Middle East places because
Sure.
it's like almost what they call a salary cap in the UK where they can't afford that fight.
Wow.
So yeah. I was reading something about how it works, the dynamics of it and everything. That it's only a certain amount of money that a fighter actually can make in the UK. That's crazy, ain't it?
That's crazy as hell.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig it up and send it to you. So that's why when they have those bigger fights like that, it's always in the Mid East or over here.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I just don't think Joshua Wilder sells hugely over here.
Or at least not as it could. I mean, I'm with you 1,000%, and you put it together so beautifully. We definitely want to see that Ortiz and Wilder fight again. Get that up out of here. Andy Ruiz has all the incentive in the world, and even his dad gently put the pressure on him and said, "We've been angling for a Wilder fight for a long time." So
Mm-hmm.
now that it's out there, should Wilder become victorious, Ruiz become victorious, that's another big fight, no belt involved, right? Then you turn around and say, "Hey, AJ, what are you doing over there?" And then that fight is huge because of the perceived animosity, the ducking, the issues with Eddie Hearn and Shelley Finkel and all of this stuff. It all plays out into the drama. They can do the all access on Showtime if they want. They got Johnny Nelson doing his across the table shit. I mean, the fight sells itself. And then with the site, like you said, imagine all the dignitaries that will be there for
Whew.
this fight.
And pay massive money. I mean, you painted that picture beautifully, brother. I mean, your words were so eloquently put together. That's exactly how all that will go down. And one thing about Ruiz and Wilder, which would be a big sell over here. And as you know, who are the biggest buyers of fight in America?
Mexicans,
Exactly.
African Americans.
Exactly. We're Mexicans first.
Yes, definitely.
That's why Floyd Mayweather always fought Mexicans when he did any fight in Vegas, because they are the biggest buyers when it comes to boxing. They are the biggest community when it comes to spending that money. So, you got the first Latino heavyweight champion of the world fighting the former heavyweight champion of the world, which is a knockout artist, fighting each other. That's a big fight.
Easy
money.
You mentioned something. I want to go down the card because this card is a pretty good card as well. And you mentioned Mexican. I got to talk about one Abner Mares making his return to featherweight division, right? We know he had the eye injury, and not just returning on his card, but he mentioned something, and he said that at the time when it was proposed that he and Tank were supposed to fight, that he felt or he believes that he would have won that. And it's easy to say from here now that the fight is not, but is he angling? Is he seriously angling towards a Tank fight, or is this just marketing for this fight? What is Abner Mares doing out here?
Well, I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do, because he know if he looks good, he probably could get that fight. That's a fight that can solidify his bank account on his way out the door. Again, what I mean? He's not going to beat against Tank. Tank will knock him into the third round. I mean, third row. But Abner Maris, man, I've always loved him. I love his heart, man. But I remember over 7 or 8 years ago, I was in Vegas and I was having lunch at a restaurant. And somebody from his camp was sitting right beside me. And we got to talking about a fight, about, Abner and everything. And he straight up told me, he said, man, I'm going to be truthfully honest, man. He was like, Abner's damn near blind in one eye. That's what he said to me. He says, Abner is damn near blind. This is almost 8 years ago, because this is during the time when Mayweather had that 6-fight contract with Showtime.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I knew it had to be a Mayweather weekend because that's the only time I was coming to Vegas at the time. And he distinctly said, he said, man, that's my man and everything. And I'm really worried about him because technically he's blind in one eye. You know what I mean? But what's so bad about it is that the commission still allows this shit. You know what I mean? And his eye got hurt again after that.
Yeah, because that was what forced the retirement, right?
Exactly. But before that even happened, this guy was telling me about this.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So the boy eye been bad for a minute. For a minute. You know what I mean? But they don't care. They don't care, man. They get it pushed through. You know, the boy Ben had a bad eye.
And so unless, there's some sort of magical surgery, some super LASIK, again, I admire the heart and the will, that Mexican machismo, orale. But brother, I'd rather you have your peripheral vision than for you to put it on the line for me. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
hopefully, I guess he did have surgery after that. Because I think when I learned about this was pre-surgery. You know what I mean? He was just going through it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to always seeing Abner Maris fight. I just hope that he's 100%, man, and I just don't want to get hurt, man.
no, definitely. And Godspeed to Abner Mares and everybody that's in that position to where we understand the fight and the spirit is in you. We're just cautioning you to kind of save your best years so you can get some gray like us and so you can go bald like us, man. You want to have a better quality of life on the back end. And while the money is tantamount and important to that, good health is wealth. So please think of your health first, Mr. Mares and all the other fighters in similar predicaments, man.
That's right. It ain't worth all that, you know.
No, it never is. But what a thing I can tell you, that's always worth it, my brother. We're coming to the end of this episode. I want you to plug yourself one more time and let the people know where they can find you.
You can definitely find me at Hardcore Boxing News 50 on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube as well, Hardcore Boxing News. And as I say, I just love the sport. I love letting people know what's going on. Because I remember when I was coming up, man, it was hard finding out what was happening in the boxing community, man. If you just wasn't reading all the newspapers, yeah, I know newspapers. Yeah, I dated myself. But, we got Instagram, we got YouTube, we got all this stuff now. But still a lot of people out there that, they like to just be able to come to one spot and find out what's happening. And I try just to be that one spot.
And ladies and gentlemen, for me and for all of you, that's that one spot. Please, Hardcore News, Hardcore Boxing News, Hardcore Boxing News 50 on Instagram. Trust me. Lots of information. I am King Amin of Essex. Y'all know where I am on Instagram. Also, these championship rounds are coming fast and furious, man. Good sparring as always. Brother, enjoy your weekend. And we're going to come back and talk about the results of these fights.
Let's do that then.
All right. We out of here.
Peace.